Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to go ahead and get started. Um, Today's webinar is titled Mastering Marketing Automation, Unveiling Swift Digital's Powerhouse. And the goal of the webinar is to give you a little bit of background on Swift Digital as a company, but also on the Swift platform and all the tools and features that come along with it. So first of all, I just want to say a big thanks to all of you for taking the time out of your day today to join us. And also a big thanks to my colleagues, Kim and T, for doing all the background work to make this webinar a success. For those of you who don't know me, I am Ryan. I'm based in our Melbourne office, and I am one of Swift's sales and account directors. And I know a lot of you might be a little confused because we're expecting to hear from Paul today, but he's unfortunately unwell. He's doing okay, but he won't be able to join. So I'm going to stand in for him today and take you through today's webinar. So first of all, I'm going to run you through today's agenda. So let me move to the next slide. So we'll run through and I'll tell you a little bit about Swift and the company background. After that, we'll talk about what makes Swift a powerhouse. We'll look at all the different tools that come within the Swift platform. We'll talk about why Swift is the platform of choice for so many Australian organizations, and that's across all industries, government, finance, education, banking. We quite often are a first choice for those industries. We'll talk a little bit about why it's important to have an Australian vendor and how Swift stores and handles and secures your data within Australia. And then we'll actually jump into the system. I'll give you a live demonstration of the platform. You can see some of the tools within it, how some of the features work, and just how easy the system is to use. And finally, if we do have time towards the end, we'll take a look at some features that you can use to really improve your stakeholder engagement. I have about 10 different ideas that you might try using in your email communications. If you do have any questions as we go along, please feel free to just pop them into the Zoom chat. You can chat them to my colleagues, Kim or T. They'll be collecting questions, and then we should have a bit of time towards the end to cover off anything that comes up. All right, now I know about a third of you are already existing clients, so just bear with me through the next few slides. So you're probably quite familiar with us already. But for those of you who aren't Swift clients, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Swift. So first of all, Swift is a completely Australian owned and operated company. We have staff in Sydney and Melbourne, and we've been around for about a little over 20 years now. So we've built our software over that time and have added lots of different modules and features as we've progressively built the platform. We're known for Australia's leading all-in-one marketing automation platform, and you'll see just why in the next few slides. We are government accredited and also ISO 27001 certified. So to your IT teams, that's something that would be very important. We received our ISO certification last year. That was something that we've been working towards for a while, and we know that that's something important that you want to see in a technology vendor. At Swift, we provide assurance of data security and also data sovereignty. So your data is always going to stay within Australia. I have a slide that will talk more about how we handle data and also data ownership. One thing that makes us really popular with our clients is our support resources. So we have a local support team. We provide live chat directly within the platform. So I know with a lot of other platforms, you have to send in an email or wait some time before you can hear back from someone. But at Swift, you always can get someone and get assistance straight away. And that includes dedicated account managers. So when you come on board, once you've completed the onboarding process, you'd be assigned a dedicated account manager. And our account managers check in with you regularly. We'll often do monthly meetings or even just quarterly health checks to make sure things are going well and to make sure you're making the most out of the platform. So that is Swift in a nutshell. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of background on us and who we are. But let's talk about the Swift platform and what makes it such a powerhouse. So if you consider for a moment all the different software tools that you might be using, so you might have tools for email marketing, event management, landing pages, surveys, SMS, and even separately marketing automation. If you take all those tools and you merge them into one, that is the Swift platform. It really is meant to provide everything you need in one place. For email marketing, it works for all sorts of different email communications. So newsletters, internal communications, alerts, EDMs, any email that you want to put out, you can do so within the Swift module. And likewise for events, it works well for things like seminars or conferences, even multi-session events. We have solutions for that. So when we get into the demonstration portion of this webinar, I'm going to go through all these modules and show you some of the assets that the Swift platform can output. And particularly with the marketing automation tools, we'll spend a bit of time looking at how you can automate things to streamline your processes and just make things easier. All right, so let's look at why Swift is often selected as a platform of choice for so many Australian organizations. So of course, I mentioned we are Australian operated. That means we have support and availability during Australian business hours. We also have some support resources that are 24/7. I mentioned we're government accredited. That's important to a lot of organizations. And then being able to have local support and training. We can meet you in your offices if you prefer on-site training. We'd like to provide a personalized service. The Swift platform is built to be able to be used by anyone. So it's easy to use and accessible. It has a very user-friendly interface. You don't need any coding knowledge or any prior experience with platforms. And it's usually very quick to onboard new staff into the Swift platform. They can sign up for free training sessions with our support team, and usually one session, and then they're off and running, and they can start building and publishing emails or setting up events or whatever they're going to be using the platform for. Of course, our compliance and our approach to data security. So we comply with all Australian legislation, including the Spam Act and the Australian privacy principles. We have leading bank grade security controls. That's not just in how we handle data, but also in how you access the platform, and local data storage, which I'll talk more about in the next slide. The platform is comprehensive, as we looked at, and it's also very scalable. So I have clients who have 100+ users in the account, and we provide tools that allow you to segment or separate areas of the system so that only certain teams see certain assets. So it can scale up to very large teams, but also some clients just have a few users using the system. So it works really well whether you have a large team or small teams, or if you have multiple teams using the same account. Another thing that makes Swift quite different from other providers is we will build custom solutions for you and even custom enhancements to update the system. So with a lot of vendors, you kind of get what you get, but we are willing to build custom solutions for you. So for example, a lot of our subscription forms, when clients come on board, we'll custom build subscription forms to each client's needs, depending on what data fields they want to capture and what their subscription options are. We'll also build in enhancements to the system if you find there's a feature that's not there that you would really like to have. And then the last category is just the automation and integration options. So we'll have a look at some of the automation tools, and you'll be able to see how you might be able to automate things, whether you want to automate emails for things like renewals, or just automate certain tasks that you find yourself doing regularly over and over. The Swift platform also integrates with a variety of other external platforms. So those could be things from CRMs to Active Directory environments. We also have a REST API that you can use to connect to any other external platform. And some of our clients that use the platform every day are just here. These are some of our government clients. If you'd like to see some of our clients across other industries, you can go to our website. There's a page on our clients, and you can see the different types of clients and the caliber of clients that we have. Okay, let's talk about data security, because I know that's an important topic and it's often the first thing that we get asked about when prospective clients come to us. So at Swift, data security is one of our utmost priorities. I mentioned that we have Australian hosted data earlier, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. So all of our data sits in the Sydney region. Your data will never go overseas, and therefore it's never bound by overseas legislation. It's always going to stay onshore. I know that's often a deal breaker question. It's usually the first question we get asked when clients approach us. We use enterprise data security centers. So we use Amazon Web Services, or AWS, as you might know them. And that, of course, is in the Sydney region. One thing that you want to look at with your vendors is whether you maintain ownership over your data when you come on board. So at Swift, you always maintain ownership over your data and all rights over it. So if you were to ever leave Swift, it's your data to take with you. Once you leave, we destroy all records of data within 90 days as per our terms and conditions. But you'll find, especially with some US providers, for example, some of the free event providers, any data that you collect in their T's and C's, they say that they have a right to that data. So it's just one thing that you want to check with your vendors to be sure that you're not giving up ownership over your data. Login security is another area that is quite important to clients. So we have certain controls that pass government requirements for login standards. That's if you're using a username and password to access the platform. But more and more, we're starting to do connections with single sign-on environments. So that instead of using single username and password, you access your Swift account through your internal environment. That makes it a lot more secure, because if you have staff leave, they're disconnected from your internal environment, and that means they're immediately disconnected from accessing your Swift account as well. And then just the last comment on this area is that we conduct regular penetration tests on our platform. We do this twice a year with an independent third-party tester. We just want to be sure that we're staying up to date with all the threats and vulnerabilities that are emerging. So that is something that we commit to doing regularly. Okay, we're gonna, that covers most of the slides. I'm gonna jump into the platform now and give you a live demonstration of the platform. We'll come back to the presentation towards the end, just so I can show you some of the stakeholder engagement features. But let me exit out of here. And I will jump into the platform. So this is the Swift platform. This is what you see when you first log in. The dashboard kind of just keeps you up to date with new features that we've released, any important announcements, and lets you know overall what's going on in your account. I mentioned the live chat feature at the beginning, and that a lot of our clients love that feature. You can see that's just right here. You can initiate a live chat anytime you'd like when you're using the platform. All the various tools within the platform are accessed through this Choose a Module dropdown. So you can see the list of modules that we offer here. I'm going to run you through these. We'll spend a bit of time in each module so you can see how each one works. Everything from email to landing pages, surveys, SMS, triggers, and campaign builder are two of our automation modules. And then also, of course, I want to show you the events area and how events can be run within Swift. But first up, let's go into the email composer module. So immediately you can see that several thumbnails appear on the page. These are all different email documents. When we onboard a client at Swift, we'll take your brand guidelines and we use those brand guidelines to custom build templates for you. So at Swift, there's not, like 1,000 different templates and you kind of choose one that's similar to your brand and try to adapt it. There's none of that with us. We'll custom build out a newsletter and a general communications template according to your brand guidelines. And then you use that moving forward to clone and create future editions. Um, if you did want to create an email from scratch, though, we also give you that capability. So you can see there's a new email button here. You can click that to start a new blank email, and we have several layout options. For example, if you wanted to include sidebars in your newsletters. I'm going to go into an existing newsletter template and show you some of the editing controls that we offer and just how easy it is to edit an email. So you can see this is an email newsletter that we built for the AFP. I'll just scroll down and kind of show you what it looks like, and then we'll go over some of the tools that we have available. But that might give you a good idea of what a newsletter might look like in Swift. Everything that you see is clickable to edit as you're looking at it. So you can click on any existing block and you can see the editing controls come up over here. It's just a matter of changing the content to suit what you need. Everything's drag and drop. So if you wanted to change things like column widths, you can just click and drag to change column widths. It's all very flexible. Anywhere you want to add new content, you can add a new row with up to 4 columns. So if I wanted to add a new row, I just click this block here. You can see that's added it in. And then down the left-hand side, we have all of our various content widgets. So you have everything from standard text article blocks to the ability to add in images. You can add gaps, which is what you see here. You can even customize your gaps. So quite flexible in look and feel. You can add YouTube videos. If you use YouTube, this is really easy. All you do is grab your YouTube URL, put that in here. We'll take a screen cap automatically for you. You can add share functions to your newsletters if you want people to be able to share newsletters on social networks. Polls, this is a really great feature, especially for internal comms. If you want to quickly get feedback from your audience, you can add a few poll questions if you wanted to. But you add in the poll, you choose the question that you'd like, what the choices are, and then when people are responding to these polls, you'll get those results in the reporting area. We have a feature this is our newest feature, actually. We launched it last year. That's called general feedback, that you can add into your communications. And you might be familiar with the changes that Apple released not too long ago that has affected open rates. So open rates aren't what they used to be in reliability, but now people are starting to look a lot more closely at their click stats because of that, because clicks still remain highly accurate. So anything that you can add to your newsletters to improve things like clicks is going to increase your engagement and show you how active your subscribers are. So this is one of those features that we released in response to the Apple changes, but it allows you to add things like emoji ratings, thumbs up, thumbs down, star ratings, satisfaction. Again, anything that you can add to your emails to try and get more clicks from your subscribers. And then the rest of the widgets here are event widgets. I'll talk more about those later on. But I want to preview this newsletter and explain some of the key features that set Swift apart from some of our other competitors. So the first thing that you might notice is in this issues section, that acts as a table of contents for all of the content down below. So we all know that a lot of times people won't scroll to the bottom of a newsletter, so they may not know what content's down below that they're missing out on. But by including a table of contents, it's grabbing the title of every article. So if someone arrives on the newsletter, they might see this Police Remembrance Day article and they might be interested in that topic. So if they click that, it will jump them straight down to that article. So you're getting relevant content in front of your readers a lot faster, but you're also getting all that juicy click data. So you can see in the reporting area how many recipients clicked on what articles and which articles are most popular amongst your audience. So that's the first thing that we recommend all clients add to their newsletters, especially if they're quite lengthy newsletters. The next thing I want to talk about is just the way that we handle read more buttons. So a lot of platforms, when you click a read more button, it will send you to an external website or a landing page. We don't like to do that at Swift. You can do that if you wanted to, but we like to keep people in view of the newsletter. So you can see here, there's 2 paragraphs of text for this fly in, fly out article. When I click read more, it will expand to show additional paragraphs of text and an image, but we're still in view of the existing newsletter. We take the same approach for things like YouTube videos. So instead of sending them off to YouTube, we are just playing the video directly within the newsletter itself. Anytime you send someone somewhere else, like YouTube, it's much less likely that they'll come back and engage with the rest of your content. So we call this inline content. That's some of the stakeholder engagement features that I'll talk about later on. But keeping them in the newsletter is really important, just so you don't lose any further engagement. Now, another neat thing that you can do with your Swift content, as long as you have the data to support it, is you can add what we call dynamic content rules. So you can see we have 2 articles here, one that is geared towards staff in New South Wales and another that's geared towards staff in Victoria. So using dynamic content rules, we can actually tailor the newsletter to show certain content to certain recipients. So in this case, I'll click this little check symbol, and you can see the dynamic content rule pops up, and it's saying display only to recipients whose state equals Vic. So when this newsletter is sent out, it's going to check the database of every recipient, and it will look to see if the recipient's state equals Vic. If it does, they will see this article. If their state equals New South Wales, they'll see the New South Wales article. And if their state is something else or they don't have a state, then they won't see either of those. So you are not limited to doing this on state. You can actually do it on any data field that you have in the system. You can see here, you can just click to add more data field rules. You can add up to 10, I believe. But state is a popular one to do it on, or location. You could do it based off of something like gender. So I'll have clients who will have different banner images that display to people based on their gender or age range, or even topics of interest would be another popular one. Any data that you have on your contacts, you're able to set these dynamic content rules, which of course tailor content to recipients and make your email a lot more relevant to them. Also, when we onboard you, I mentioned that we will custom build templates for you. So you'll see this styles tab here. We'll build up to 15 styles, all according to your brand guidelines. And that way, if you want to swap the look and feel of things or change your styling, it's just a matter of choosing a different style here. If you wanted to, there's additional styling controls. You can add your own styles, even save your own color swatches. So it's all quite flexible in what it will allow you to do. For those of you that use a lot of analytics, you can even add your own Google Analytics tracking, Google Tag Manager, Adobe Analytics, or Facebook tracking pixels. If you use UTM tags and you're familiar with those, you can add your UTM tags at the document level, and these will automatically be appended to every URL in your newsletter. So whenever someone clicks from a link through to your website, every link will take the information along with it, telling you where that person arrived from. And also with Swift, there are certain features that come standard. So for example, let me just open up some of these. You'll get things like you can build simple subscription forms like this in the landing page module. You can build these yourself without Swift assistance. They're quite easy to set up and choose what data fields you want to capture, which fields are mandatory. We'll look at that when we get to the landing page module. There's a default forward functionality, so people can click forward, type in a friend or colleague's email address, and it will forward the email to them. And that also gives you statistics, so you can see how many people are forwarding your email. And then the last one was, I think, past editions is what I meant to click. So this is just an archive that will automatically display any editions that you published. You don't need to remember to go in and manually update this. Anytime you publish a new newsletter, it will automatically update your archive. So you can link to this from your newsletter or even from your website if you want people to be able to access the archive from your website. All right, I think that is everything I wanted to cover when it comes to building and formatting emails. I hope that gives you a pretty good idea of just how easy it is to add more content and edit existing content. Normally, you would clone a newsletter to create your next edition, so everything's already laid out for you. You just need to go in and change the content. But I'm going to go ahead and save this quickly, and I'll run through the publishing process. There's a few things I wanted to mention there as well. So when you're ready to publish your email, you'll get a spam score just to check the likelihood that it'll end up in people's spam folders. You can double check all your links, but you can also pre-schedule your email to go out. So you might want it to go out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It's just a matter of selecting your publish time here, and that will put it in a publishing queue until it's sent. You can customize things like the subject line and the name and an email address that it's coming from. That's all pretty standard stuff. But the last feature, there's two other features I wanted to mention, and that is send mode. So you have the option to A/B test your subject lines. So you can choose two different subject lines. Each subject line will be sent to 10% of your audience. And then after the analysis period, which you set here, it will check to see which subject line performed the best as far as opens go. And then the remaining 80% automatically get the best performing subject line. It's a really quick and easy way to try and improve your open rates. And then you can also automatically be sent a PDF report after your email's gone out. So I typically will have a report sent to me 2 days after the email's been published. And this will just send you an email with all the statistics, things like opens, clicks, what devices people are using, the location data. That is, by the way, something I wanted to show the reporting. And I meant to pull that up earlier, but I didn't. I knew I was going to miss something. Let me just quickly get logged into an account that has some live reporting data. And I'll show you what the statistics area looks like. All right, so this is our reporting dashboard. So you'll see when you first arrive here, you're getting your top level stats. So those are things like the number of people the email was sent to, the success rate, bounces. So you can click to drill down on these 200 individuals. You'll see whose email addresses bounced. Again, you can click to see who opened the email and who clicked on links within the email. All of the data is reported in graphs as well. So you can save these graphs and add them to your own reports. And then further down, we have our detailed reports area. So every clickable object in your email is going to be reported on with clicks. So you can see the various clicks on different articles. You can see 44 people clicked on this data and security article. I could click to drill down and see who those 44 individuals are. You have your thumbs up, thumbs down. So this is that little reactions rating feature that we looked at earlier. Once you have your subscribers, you can then export them to a CSV, or you can also add them to we call them mail groups, you might call them mail lists, but you can add them to a group in the database and then send a targeted follow-up communication to them. So it's just a way to send targeted content to your subscribers based on something you know they're interested in because of their click behavior. But other tools that you'll get in the detailed reports area would be a time graph, which shows you the time of day that people are opening your email. It'll look something like this. You're always going to have your most opens as soon as you send the email, but you kind of want to look for any other blips or spikes along the way. That might designate a good time to try sending a future communication. You'll get device and operating systems. You can see what devices people are using. Location data, depending on whether you're sending externally or internally, is for external comms, Gmail and Yahoo, for example, route all their traffic through the US, so it's not as accurate as it used to be. But you can still get some good insights from there. We talked about the forwards. If you're using that feature, it'll be shown here. Any new subscribes or unsubscribes will be shown here. Top domains is really useful. It will group your recipients by domain. This is especially useful if you're sending to businesses. You'll see a list of businesses and you can see which businesses engage with you most based on opens. And of course, there's several other reporting tools here. Like if you included a poll, you'll get your poll results. But overall, that's a comprehensive look at our reporting area. My favorite feature is actually the click map. I just pulled that off screen. But the click map will pull up your EDM or your newsletter. And next to every link, it will show you the total number of people that clicked each item. So this is just a nice visual way to report. You can save this as a PDF and then distribute it around internally if you wanted to. We have more reporting tools. So you have the ability to compare emails that you've sent. So you could imagine if you have a monthly newsletter and you want to compare performance based on open or click rates across the last year, you can use the compare stats tool to do that. It'll have a nice little line graph that'll show you whether you're trending up or trending down in open or click rates. But that is the reporting that you get. It's not just on newsletters, it's on any email that you send, whether it's it could be a newsletter or an event invitation or any other email communication. All right, I'm going to close this and let's jump back to the platform. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Sorry, let me log in again. Security controls. Okay, so we've looked at the email area. Next, we're going to move into events. So for those of you who are interested or run events, I'll show you how those are set up within Swift. Just in the interest of time, I'm actually going to show you the asset outputs. So the registration forms and things like confirmations, just to give you an idea of what that looks like to the end user. And then we'll come back here and we'll look at how you actually go about setting up the events. But this is an example of a registration form that you might build in Swift. So you can brand all of your forms with your own banner and footer image, include your event information, and then also you build out your registration form. So you choose which data fields you want to include on your form and also which data fields are mandatory. This is an example of what we call an express form. That's where one person is registering to attend one event. But after they've registered, the system will automatically send them a confirmation email, which looks something like this. So it'll include the details of the event. It'll include the name of the person who's registered. If multiple people have registered in the same go, all of their names will be included here. And also each registrant will have a QR code. We have these QR codes because we've actually built an event app that you can use on any Apple or Android device. And that is used to scan attendance. So when your attendees show up to your events with their confirmation email, it might be on their phone or maybe they printed it out, you can use our event app. This is just an example of the Swift Events app in the Apple Store. But you can use this app to scan attendance. You just click scan, you'll scan the QR code, and it will automatically mark that person as attended in the system. You can also you can see here there's little seat icons. You can just click those if they didn't bring their QR code or they can't find it. You can just search for them and then manually mark them as attended. You can see their registration details. And also through the app, you can add people who just show up to the event that maybe didn't register. That's quite a handy tool. Just type in their name, any other data fields you want to collect, and then add them as a registrant. And finally, you can print name tags straight from the app. So you can set this up in advance and choose what fields you want to be on the name tags. Usually it'd be, their name, their position, their organization. But then you can click, after you've checked them in, there will be a little print button. That's this one here. You just click that button. It will send the label to a wireless brother printer, and then you can hand that to them. You've probably seen that at events you've attended before. And then you just take the label and stick it on your chest. There is also a self check-in mode with this app, so you can see that here, but you can set up some tablets upon entry, and then people can go up to them and check themselves in either by typing in their name or scanning a QR code. You can control which check-in options they have. So we looked at the express form, which is just one person per registration, but you can also do multi-session forms. And an example of that would be if you're running a multi-format event. So in this example, the client's running both on-site and webinar at the same time. So you can pick and choose what event format you want to attend. But if you are running several sessions of an event across several days, you can have multi-session formats. With multi-session formats, you can choose of the available sessions, they have to choose one to attend, or as in this example, they can choose multiple. So if I'm registering for registrants, I could choose both. I might say I'm registering 2 to attend via webinar and 1 to attend on site. Then I would go down and you can see that's updated, and then I fill in the details for each attendee. We'll look at what you can control in the event settings area. You can control things like capacities, and they can be different for webinar versus on-site. But this just gives you an example of a multi-session form that allows multiple tickets or multiple registrations in one go. Okay, I've jumped back into the dashboard of the event module. I'm going to click into that AFP seminar, the express form that we were looking at, and just quickly run through some of the important features that come with Swift events. So first, you'll see here, you have your standard settings, like setting the event start and end time. You can choose when registrations are open and when they close. But next, you'll choose your capacity. So you can set a capacity here, or you can choose unlimited. If you set a capacity, you can also choose to enable waitlist. So when the event is full, anyone who still arrives on the registration form, they'll see a message, this message actually, that says the event is at capacity, and it asks if they want to join the waitlist. Anyone who joins the waitlist will be sent to that area in the registration view. And then if you are able to free up seats or capacity, you can send an email to everyone on the waitlist letting them know they can register, or you could manually just move them into registered status. Another feature that is commonly asked for is the ability to limit who can register for your events. So you can actually say only contacts that I've sent an email invitation to should be able to register. That means if the recipients forward the invitation to friends or colleagues, and those friends or colleagues try to register, they weren't invited, so it won't allow them to complete their registration. The other option would be if their email address exists in your database as a contact, then they should be allowed to register. And the last option, of course, is just it's open to the public. You have the ability to choose whether you want to issue confirmations. If you're doing a webinar event, you would include the webinar link in this ticket notes field. You can even hyperlink it here. You just highlight and then you can hyperlink it. Anything you include in the ticket notes field, when people click to add the event to their calendar from the confirmation email, so they'll click one of these options to add it, that link is going to be included in the event description. So they don't need to go back to their email to find the link to join the webinar. They can just click through straight from their event calendar. And for webinars or online events, you'll probably turn off QR codes, so you can just click that here. For those of you who are event organizers, when you're building out your email invitations, you can include a register and a decline button. If you include the decline button, it is really useful to figure out why people are declining. So you can use this decline feedback option to try and get more information as to why they're not able to attend. So you can see here, maybe they're just unavailable, or it's an inconvenient location, topic's not relevant. You can choose what the response options are, and even add an other box for those that want to provide other reasons as to why they're not able to attend. You can choose to enable cancellations. If someone cancels their booking, it of course frees that up for someone else to then book in. You can even get a cancellation notification email every time someone cancels, just to notify you that a cancellation has occurred. If you run events and you issue CPD points or attendance certificates, we have a feature for that as well. You'll see that here. You actually end up loading your own CPD certificates into the system through a Word document. You can customize that and pull in any data fields that you'd like, such as the individual's name, the name of the event, the number of points they've been awarded. And then you can send a post-event email to those attendees, and they can download a PDF certificate that's personalized to them. In addition to that, we also have the ability to print your own name tags or name labels. You can, again, upload your own templates, and it'll print out a PDF of your labels with each registrant's name, so you can hand out name tags as they arrive. When people do start to register and come through as registrants, they'll fall into this registration area. You can see there's 4 registrations here. As you're marking attendance, you'll see attendance data here. But all of your other statuses, so anyone who's declined, waitlisted, canceled, staff, and my favorite category is non-respondents, they'll all appear in these different statuses. So non-respondents are people that you've sent an email invitation to, but haven't yet registered or declined. So this is who you'd be sending your reminder emails to. And the system makes it very easy to do that. Okay, that is a quick glance at the events module and some of the different event offerings. We're going to move on to our landing page module next. So let me click through there. Again, I'll show you some landing page outputs. So this is just an example of a simple landing page. It provides some informational content, but also a lead capture form. So people can come to this page, read more information. You can build a form that they fill out, and then upon submitting this, it adds them as a subscriber to the database. When that happens, you can have a welcome email automatically sent to them. That's one of the automations that are built in. But you can also have a notification email sent to you or to someone on a sales team, notifying them that there's a new subscriber to follow up with. But this is an example of a landing page. Another example works really well for events. You can build different landing pages to build an event microsite. So you might have a different page for you. For example, this is a conference. There's a page, a welcome page with details about the event. There's a page on the organizers and who they are, speakers, event details. So you can build a little mini website using landing pages and link everything together using the navigation tools here. But working with landing pages is very similar to building an email. So you can see the editor looks very similar, a lot of the same content widgets. 2 key differences are landing pages can, of course, be wider than an email, and also the CTA form, which is this little widget here that you click and drag in. That's where you choose what data fields you want to capture. So in this case, first name, last name, email, you choose what fields are mandatory. You can pre-populate any data fields on this form or on your registration forms if you already have that data on your contacts. All right, we're gonna go to, just in the interest of time, I know we're running out of time. I'll show you SMS just quickly. I think we have. So this is the way that the SMS module works. You just kind of build out your SMS messages. You can personalize them with any data fields that you have in the system. And then you can test and publish SMS messages to yourself. You don't need a lot of training to send SMS. It's quite easy. You just load your SMS list into the database, create your message, and then send the message to your list. But this feature was incredibly popular during COVID. A lot of our clients were sending out SMS alerts, but a lot of clients who run events use these every day when they're sending reminders out for the event. Let's look at surveys next. I'm just going to show you the outputs of surveys. So this is an example of a survey. You can have disqualifiers on your survey. So in this case, it's asking if the person participated in the survey. If they say yes, they can continue on. If they say no, it will end the survey there and they just complete. But you can add your disqualifiers. Surveys might look something like this. You would never see Swift branding on your surveys. They'd all be highly branded to you. But you can see the different data fields. There's about 15 different question types that you can add. So you can see here, there's different questions, even something like a signature panel if you want people to sign for compliance reasons. You can add things like table matrices. So this is great for events if you want to ask people to rate different categories and how they found things. You can even, like, you can add conditional logic so that if they answer a certain way, you show additional questions. So if they rate the food poor or something else poor, you can ask them to explain why they gave that rating. You can add conditional logic onto really anything though. But this just gives you an idea of what surveys look like when they're built in Swift, and what the outputs look like. Okay, the last two modules I wanted to cover were triggers and campaign builder. So these are two of our automation modules. With triggers, you can build out different automations based on date fields or based on user behavior. So a common one would be if you have something like renewal notifications, you can set up a trigger that looks through the database at each contact's renewal date and then fires them an email based on their renewal date. So in this case, we have a data field called renewal date, and every contact in the database has a renewal date. So we want an email to trigger 30 days before their renewal date at 9 a.m. So we set up this trigger. We provide the trigger details. By the way, you're not limited to triggering emails. You can also trigger SMS comms. But you can say, you can set this up, and then every day the system will check to see if anyone has a renewal date in 30 days. And if they do, it will automatically fire this email to them. So it's really kind of a set and forget thing. You just set it up once and then it will run automatically every day. So it's one way to streamline your processes, especially if you find you're doing lots of manual publishes and sends now. The other date option that you can use that I find really useful is the ability to send to unopened contacts. So you can create a date trigger that says, all right, I want to resend a document to people who didn't open my first email. So you'd set that document up, you'd select it here, and then you'd say maybe 2 days after the first email gets sent, anyone who hasn't opened the first email, I want to trigger this follow-up email. Or something that's becoming more common would be triggering an SMS. So you might be receiving more of these where you get an SMS that says, we've sent you an email, please check your inbox, something along those lines. That's done by using date triggers. So if you don't open an email within 2 days or whatever you specify here, then a follow-up SMS is going to be sent to you to try and prompt you to check your inbox. So that is a great way to use the triggers module in Swift. The next one is a little more advanced, and that's our campaign builder module. And this allows you to create different user journeys. You can see different prongs here. So based on conditions, people get sent different emails or SMS messages. So I'll just explain what we're looking at here. You can see we have a welcome email, and this welcome email gets sent to all new subscribers. But we have follow-up triggers set. So when this welcome email gets sent, we're going to send another email 30 days later. You can see that's the trigger here. But we want different emails to go to people based on their age range. So if their age range is in the 18 to 30 range, then we're going to send them this promo email in 30 days that has a bit different branding, has a picture of a young couple here you can see in that thumbnail. But that's what we're sending to the 18 to 30-year-old group. If you're between 31 and 50, you're going to get this email. And then if you're over 50, you'll get a different email entirely. So those all trigger automatically, and you can see in the reporting area how many people have filtered through to each step in these pink little circles here. Based on this second promo email being sent, we have further conditions that occur. So, or further triggers, I should say, that occur. So the first is if this promo email goes unopened for 3 days, then we're sending a follow-up SMS. And here you can see it's asking them to check their inbox. The other trigger that you can add is to notify someone internally that that contact has reached that point in your process or your journey. So you can click the staff trigger and then nominate an email address to receive that alert. So that's really useful, especially if you have sales funnels or sales staff that you want to notify when someone reaches a certain point in a journey, or maybe they didn't take a certain action. You can set up a trigger for that. But that's a quick glance at our campaign builder module. I think we've made it through all of the modules, which we've really just kind of scratched the surface with each one. But hopefully that gives you a good idea of all the different tools that come within one Swift platform. They all work together. For example, events and email area are really intertwined. And everything also uses the same database. So when you load your lists, whether you're sending an SMS or an email or registrants, it's all stored in the same Australian data centers. All right, I think that kind of brings us to the end of the platform demonstration. I'm just going to check to see if we had some questions and if we have time to jump back into the presentation. I think actually I kind of commented on most of the stakeholder engagement features as we went through, especially in the email area. So things like that reactions and ratings tool, we've been through that. So I think we'll probably leave the stakeholder engagement features because we've covered a lot of them. Let's go ahead and move to some of the questions that have been asked. All right, so let me stop screen sharing. And I'll just pull up those questions. Oh, so the first question is can you explain more how the in this issue block works? Yeah, definitely. Let me actually go back to screen sharing. And I'll jump back into the newsletter that we were looking at earlier. So in this issue section, the part that acts as the table of contents, it's actually an article widget. You can see we call that quick links, but you just click and drag that in wherever you'd like it to display. You can only have one table of contents per newsletter or per email. But you can control what articles display in this section. So for example, you can see the New South Wales staff articles not displaying here. That's because I haven't ticked to enable the quick link option here. If I tick that, then you can see it's now showing that in the table of contents. So if you have a really lengthy newsletter, you probably won't want everything showing in the table of contents. You'll probably pick and choose certain articles that you think would be of most interest to your readers to display here. So that's a little bit more about how the quick links tool works. Hopefully that answered your question. Next question, add to calendar links. Add to calendar links. Okay, so if you are using Swift for events, you can add calendar links to your newsletters or emails. One way of doing that is just you can add an RSVP widget, which you see here. You just click and drag that in. And you can choose whether you want to show the add to columns. Most clients wouldn't use this because they want people to register before they add it to their calendar. If you are the same and you would prefer people to register before adding it to their calendar, because remember, they're going to get the add to calendar options here in the event confirmation. But if you're sending other newsletters out in the future and you want to have add to calendars, maybe you're sending reminders or something like that, there is a way for you to add those. We have a knowledge base article. You can check that out if you're an existing client. You can check that out up here in the help section. In the knowledge base article, just search how to add to calendar buttons, and you'll be able to see how you add those to other emails besides newsletters or event confirmations. All right, next question. Can we have multiple Swift users that are only able to view and edit certain subscriber lists? Yeah, actually, this is a really great question, and it's something I didn't touch on, so I will briefly cover that. There are actually two levels of access controls in Swift. So especially if you have a lot of teams or users within the system, you're going to want to control who has access to what. So the second level of access control, I'm going to talk about it since we're already here, but that's restricting people based on folder. So you can see here, this is a folder dropdown. So when you're setting up your email communications or your events, you're going to organize them into folders. So this is a list of the folders in this demo account. You can actually click on the folder and then you can choose who can access that folder. So by default, the folder is visible to all users. But if you deselect that, you'll have a list of your users appear, and you can pick and choose which users have access to the emails in that folder. The same is true in the database area. So that's the mailhouse. You have this folder organization. You load your lists into folders and you choose who has access to the lists in those folders. So that's one level of permissions. It's called folder permissions. But the next level would be when you're actually creating user accounts in Swift. And one thing that's nice to know is at Swift, we don't charge on a per user basis. So you can add as many users to your account as you need, whether it's 5 or 100, entirely up to you. And we encourage you to do that because each user should have their own login with their own access controls. And it's also great for audit purposes. You can see who's done what within the system. But when you're adding a new user to the system, you can control what areas they have access to. So if you only want them having access to the email area, that's Composer, you would turn that on, and then you can further select what their permissions are. So you might say, I don't want them publishing emails and I don't want them viewing reports, but they can view and edit emails. So you turn those two permissions on. If you have someone who's only going to be working in surveys, you just turn on the survey module and you choose what rights they have within the survey module. If you're an administrator, that's the other role we have. Administrators, of course, have full access to everything, but you're usually only going to have a few key people that are administrators in your account. Everyone else would be users with different access controls. Okay, the next question was, can you control the archive list? So that was what we looked at here. I think I closed that newsletter. So when you have an archive, any newsletter that you publish from that archive, actually, let me find one here. So any newsletters that you have in your archive, you actually select the folder that you want emails to appear from. If you don't want a newsletter to appear in your archive anymore, you'd need to remove it from that folder. So this right now is showing all emails in the AFP folder. That might be your newsletter folder. But if you don't want an addition to appear, all you need to do in the email area is just move it out of that folder. Once it's out of that folder, it will no longer appear in the past editions or the archive. So you can see, different emails here appearing in the AFP folder. If I didn't want this edition to appear, I just select it and I choose to move it. And I'd need to move it into another folder. You can create a new folder to hold it in, but as long as it's not in the archive folder, then it won't display. Okay. Next question is, can you embed sign-up forms in iframes? Oh, that one's been answered already. Can the report request contain multiple email recipients? Okay, so I think that's when you're publishing an email. I'm actually not sure. I think it will only take one email address. Let me just try and see if it. See if it throws an error. Yeah, it'll only take one email address, unfortunately. If that's something that's important to you, you can actually log that as a enhancement request. That should be something pretty easy for us to update if you'd liked multiple email addresses to receive that report. All right. And the last question is, oh, there's a couple more now, sorry. If someone unsubscribes from an EDM, are they unsubscribed from everything or just that EDM? Another great question. I mentioned earlier that we custom build solutions for clients. And one of those things would be what we call a subscription preference center. So I'll show you this example from Department of Health and Aged Care. When people go to unsubscribe, instead of going to an unsubscribe where they unsubscribe from everything, we send them to a page like this where it has their subscription options pre-selected. So it would automatically show them what they are subscribed to and they can deselect. So if I wanted to remain subscribed to your aged care update, I could keep my subscriptions here and I would just remove engaged if I no longer wanted to receive that. That way I'm only unsubscribing from one newsletter and not others. So that's something that we can set up and configure for you. These subscription preference centers are unique to each client. You can see there's quite a bit of dynamic content here based on what you've selected. So we work that out with you when we're onboarding you and scoping things out. Okay, I think that does it. I think that's all the questions that we've answered. For those of you that are still with us, thank you so much for joining. Kim is going to send some follow-up comms to you. That will include a link to this webinar in case there's anything you wanted to see again. If you have any questions that we didn't answer, please feel free to send those through to you. We'll be sure to get you a reply. There is also a link to book a consult if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about Swift, or if you'd like to talk about your own requirements or needs. Feel free to book in a slot. We'll do a 30-minute slot initially. That'll be with myself. And then we can arrange a further demo if you have other team members that would like to see the platform as well. But thank you all again. It was great to have you with us today, and hopefully we'll see you at another webinar in the future. Thanks for your time. Bye.